Hey everybody, welcome to Gootz's Wrestling Pod. I'm your host, Ray Gootz. With me as always is Andrew Lee.
Hello.
As you may have noticed on the Instagram page, we're now posting little video previews. Did you see the video preview I posted this week, Andrew?
Yeah, I did. It's fantastic.
Great job. So please give that a like, share it. Let's get some
Little
new
clip.
fans here, folks. We're
Exactly.
trying to,
Everybody likes the short clips.
we're trying to sell out, just like the nWo sold out. And you know who else is selling out?
Who?
It's Mr. Iguana. Guys, I don't know if you remember, but a few weeks ago, Andrew Lee, he came with the scoop that the world is going to love Mr. Iguana. It wasn't Dave Meltzer who said it. It wasn't Sean Rossap. They all got taken by surprise, but not me. You want to know why? I listen to Andrew Lee. Andrew Lee, let's talk about the week Mr. Iguana has had. He is the hottest new wrestler on the planet.
Yes. For those of you guys who didn't watch it, I highly recommend you guys watch the AAA WWE Worlds Collide PLE. That's on YouTube.
For
Um,
free.
for free, exactly.
Oh,
And Mr. Iguana was the AAA star that actually was the breakout star of the entire PLE, and tons of memes of him on the internet. And he had WWE had his shirt out right away, and it sold extremely well, so well and he was received so well that 2 days later on Raw, there was even a little video package of Mr. Iguana. So the first question is he going to Raw?
that's what he's saying. That's what Mr.
So
Iguana is saying.
yeah, Mr. Iguana did an interview recently uh, where he said that uh, he basically said the WWE needs me. My shirt was number one merchandise seller, and they wanted me to sign a contract, and I'm going straight to the main roster, Raw. I'm not even going to NXT. This is what he said in the interview. Um, However, what recently happened after this interview?
Well, we don't know if it happened. We're not there. But Dynamite Dave Meltzer
Yes.
has said that he got heat because I don't think Dave Meltzer likes Mr. Iguana because the Fed fans, the WWE fans have taken to him, and I'm sure Mr. Iguana went to AEW. Dave Meltzer would be announcing what a fucking coup it is for Tony Khan, and if you don't like Mr. Iguana, you don't understand wrestling, and he would have gave every Mr. Iguana match 92 stars. Yeah, I could see him getting heat, but also I think those days are gone. Like, in other words, like if he said that in 1997, I'm sure the goblins would have pooped in his bag and they would have murdered the iguana, right? But
Why? Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Keep going.
this is now a corporate structure, and if these corporate heads decide that Mr. Iguana is a valuable member of the roster, he's going to go on the roster. And if you retaliate by pooping in his bag, I don't think you're going to last in TKO. So I don't know if I'm sure people don't like it. I'm sure Terry Taylor and Paul Heyman, who give all their info to Dave Meltzer, didn't like it. But I don't believe that he got huge amount of heat like Meltzer's claiming.
uh Pooping in the bag, that's a Vince McMahon era, Vince McMahon Jr. era. Yeah, it's
Yeah, I
no
think those
longer
days are
there.
long gone.
They don't do that pooping in the bag anymore. Yeah, but I'm so happy for him, regardless of what's going on. They showed his vignette on Raw. His shirt is a top seller, and whether it be NXT or Monday Night Raw or SmackDown, I believe he's going to be featured on American WWE television. And people don't know this, Mr. Iguana can speak English. He did go to school for a bit in America. So congratulations to him. I've always been a big fan of Mr. Iguana for years, and I did call it, and I'm so glad people are getting on board with that. It's good for him.
Mr. Iguana blowing up.
Now,
Speaking,
Ray, he's not Mr. Iguana is not the only wrestler who's been selling out. Who else has been selling out?
well, CM Punk. And again, we still have time to pivot from this, but as of now, CM Punk and John Cena are going to have a match, which is what I've been championing since CM Punk returned. I really want to match them. However, it's going to take place in Saudi Arabia. Now, as you
Saudi,
all remember, what?
Saudi, I'm just saying Saudi Arabia.
Now,
It's
as you
just
all remember,
funny. CM Punk, we're going to Saudi Arabia. You know.
well, yeah. Well, as you all remember, I'm getting to that point. As you all remember, the Miz tweeted out something about CM Punk in 2019, and CM Punk responded with "Go suck a blood money dick in Saudi Arabia, you piece of garbage" or whatever. And you know what goes around comes around. I mean, what gets me about that tweet back then is he was actively trying to get back into WWE when around that era. Like he wanted to go back. Vince didn't want to pay him, I think, the money he wanted. Tony Khan was more willing. The You would have seen CM Punk in 2020 in AEW if it wasn't for COVID. He waited until COVID was done, but basically, he was talking to Tony about coming in right before COVID, and then he said, "We'll put these talks on hold." So that's crazy that he sent that tweet out. I think it's very funny. Is going to Saudi Arabia. I think WWE should definitely have fun with it. But I do have a however. But what are your thoughts on CM Punk wrestling in Saudi Arabia?
I've always known that CM Punk is a hypocrite, right? So this is nothing new. He's always been a hypocrite. There's many times he's often caught with his foot in his mouth. This is just another example of it. So I don't care that he's going to Saudi. I really don't care. I think it's hilarious. I think it's pretty funny, and I do like bringing it up that he's going over there to suck a blood money covered dick. And you know what?
The match.
Look, listen, if we know, CM Punk knows too. He knows how hypocritical he sounds, right? He's not stupid. He's aware of it. But I think he is kind of him staying quiet about it, like not like arguing with people or getting into it on Twitter. X is that's good. Good for him, you know, but I don't think I'm gonna watch that match. I have no interest in it.
I'll watch it if I'm around, unless I have a show. I think the other thing too is I think that number one, I've said this before. If you want to go to if you want to be a wrestler, you should want to be in WWE. It's a waste of your time to be in AEW or TNA. But number two, you're gonna have to accept the fact you're gonna have to wrestle in Saudi Arabia. That's just the way it is at this point. It's not changing. It's not going away. And number three, Sami Zayn has expressed approval of going to Saudi Arabia. Sami Zayn is Muslim. He wasn't allowed in Saudi Arabia because of some issues. Those issues have not because of him, but because of issues with religion. Those issues have been resolved. He went to Mecca. He's very happy there. The fans cheer for him. So what I would say, if Sami Zayn is happy going to Saudi Arabia and he's at peace, this is something that affects him and his religion and his faith, and he's happy there. I don't think anyone else should have a problem going to Saudi Arabia. That's my thing. If Sami Zayn said it's okay, then I think it's okay.
And here's another thing too. You may not like what the government's doing, but why punish the people there, the fans?
Yes,
there's regular normal. There's regular normal people in Saudi Arabia. There's young kids who are WWE fans, and they don't get a chance to see WWE live regularly like we Americans do. Why would you rob them of that because you don't agree with the politics that those kids have nothing to do with, right?
Yes.
I think anybody who goes like I won't go to Saudi Arabia because of the politics or if you're an entertainer and you do that, and if I think that's kind of like you're just an entertainer, do your job kind of situation. That's how I look at it. So I'm glad he's going there. CM Punk he's got to have fans there.
But I also think
young kids who are going to want to see that.
I also kind of think he's the type of guy that sat down with Sami Zayn and he sat down with a couple of other wrestlers and he said, give me your thoughts. Like, what do you think? And if Sami Zayn said it fucking stinks and they want to shoot me in the head, I do think CM Punk might have put up more of a string. But I would go to Saudi Arabia. I would. I wouldn't even hesitate. I would literally. They wouldn't even finish the sentence if I worked for WWE. So yeah, I'll be there. Like I'm not like, I don't know. Here's the thing too, dude. Here's the thing too. Finn Balor, CM Punk. We both know Sonya Deville. We both know they're allies of the gay people, right? They're allies. You're gonna reach the people over in Saudi Arabia by going there than by staying away and being like, oh, they're so evil and backward thinking. You gotta go there and you gotta connect people. That's how kids grow to accept trans people. That's how kids grow up to accept gay people. You have to treat people with respect. You have to give them a reason to care. And if you just right away go, fuck you, you're from Saudi Arabia, they're not going to get with your lifestyle, whether you're Sonya Deville or whoever, fucking, I don't know, Pat Patterson. But you get my point.
I would also, I don't think CM Punk would talk to Sami Zayn. I don't think those guys are friends.
I think he's made up a lot of people.
Yeah, Kevin Owens and CM Punk they don't like each other.
No, I know, but I think that a lot of bridges have been mended since he's gotten back. Remember, they have to get there early, so they have a lot of time to talk to one another. They have to get there like noon on a Monday. There's a lot of downtime before they go out there and Raw. So, it wouldn't. I'm not saying him and fucking, but I think also CM Punk is also con. I think what he also is very aware of is that he can't have another young buck hangman thing where he just lets things fester and then it comes back to fuck with him. So I think he does try to make an effort to talk to his enemies while he's there,
Wow, it's a lot of sold out, brother. A lot of sold out.
So let's fuck today's wrestling. It stinks anyway. Let's focus on what's important, which is 1997 nWo sold out. Now I'm going to say this.
The real sold out.
I've never seen the show before, and I stayed away from it because I was told how bad it is. Now I'm going to say this. Yes, in ring, it is a bad show. However, it's not a bad show. And I'll tell you why. Because modern wrestling could learn a lot from this show. Because what I like about this show, what I love, not just like love about the show, is that they throw out the entire format of how WCW works. They do their production, they throw it all out, and they actually sit down and they put real thought into what would happen if the nWo had their own pay-per-view. And I give that a lot of credit because it's outside the box thinking. We don't have that. WWE does not deviate from their format. It doesn't matter what happens. Fucking Roman Reigns could shoot Brie Bella in the head, and they're just going to have the same old SmackDown on Friday, okay? And I like the fact that they're taking a wild swing. What do you think?
So I'm the opposite of you. The in-ring is actually good. But for the most part, the in-ring action is good. It is. I give him credit for trying something different, but that trying something different was grade A monkey crap. It was not well thought out. There's nothing wrong with trying something different, but if you're gonna do something different, you need to prepare, and there needs to be preparation needs to be involved, and you need to like try your best. Those two things, when you're watching it, you could tell they did not prepare well, and they did not do their best effort. So if you're gonna hold on, let me finish my thought. I can't be like, oh, they tried something different. No. You know what? You can try something different, but if you're gonna half-ass it, don't fucking even do it at all. That's how I feel about it. They did not fucking put their best foot forward. We tried something different. Shut the fuck up, Eric Bischoff. That's how it is, bro.
He doesn't like this show. So what are you yelling at Eric Bischoff? He agrees with you.
What? No, but what I'm saying is
he agrees.
He said he's gonna try something different, but he should have put more of an effort in. He didn't. So he's a fucking idiot.
He's not that creative. He's not that creative.
It has nothing to do with creativity. It has nothing to do with you got to and you got to.
You have to be creative for this to work, and he's not creative.
What?
You have to be creative for this to like be a home run, and he's not creative. He doesn't have.
He also didn't put preparation into it. Is what I'm saying. He didn't prepare. You could tell he didn't prepare it. It was late. It was a very lazy, relaxed, like I'm doing this because I like motorcycles kind of bullshit thing. It's stupid. It's another fucking ego project that he did not put any effort into. He didn't put any effort in. That's what I have a problem with. There's no effort put into
But, but,
this show.
but what I like about the show, because they don't do this anymore in wrestling, is that AEW has not deviated from their format since they started. WWE never deviates. And I like seeing something that is a deviate. Now, listen, some of the early Attitude Raws aren't good, and then they got their fucking formula down. My thing is this: that like it's the right idea. He didn't go like he should have just instead of what happened was I think you're right. He didn't put any effort. He knows it stinks, and then he just never tries it again. And I'm like, no, you got to sit down because they don't do this in WCW. They never acknowledge what did we fuck up? How can we fix it? If they think something stinks, they
That's
just
putting in effort. See, that's
yeah.
putting in effort.
But that's
What
what
is
Vince.
why
That's
did
what
we fuck
Vince
up? Yeah, how can we do things different? And it's like you're not like you're right. He's trying all these different things, but every time he's trying something different, you could tell he's just putting in like the minimum amount of effort into it. And it's just like this is why ultimately you failed, Eric Bischoff, you know?
Well, I'll
And
tell you what I think should have happened in the middle of this show is so the WCW guys, I mean, we're jumping ahead, but the WCW guys are in the crowd, right? So they show you that there's some WCW guys in the crowd. And I would have done a reverse NWO. I would have had the WCW guys at the end of the show take out the NWO, and then Tony Schiavone and like Lee Marshall. So I don't think Bobby Heenan would want to get physically involved at this point. Take over the broadcast booth like the NWO used to do. And they're like, now we're going to take over. Instead, the WCW guys just sit there like sacks of shit.
And you have an excuse with Bobby Heenan not jumping in because Bobby Heenan on commentary kind of plays this thing of like he doesn't like the NWO, but he's also like a kiss ass because he's trying to, you know, he's like whoever's going up on top, I want to be on because he's still like a heelish commentator. So you could have that excuse of Bobby Heenan not jumping in case he didn't want to go on Eric Bischoff's bad side. And you know, that's a good thought of the WCW guys taking over at the end because it's the most logical concept to do. But this idiot, Eric Bischoff, can't even put in an ounce of effort to even think of that or even entertain that thought. That's why ultimately this show is a stinker, you know?
I think the thing, I still think it's better than the Rumble, sadly. I think the thing with him.
Yeah, it is.
I think the thing with him, and I think it's pretty apparent, is that he was terrified of life after the NWO. So, yeah, the blow off, like, if they do Sting and Hogan, like, let's say they just do Sting and Hogan in February of 97 and Sting wins. They're going to do a monster buy rate. The ratings are going to go through the roof for the next month. People are going to go nuts. It's going to be hailed as one of the greatest pay-per-views of all time. But he doesn't know where to go. Once Sting defeats the NWO and like they go away, he has no idea where to go. And he doesn't believe in WCW. He doesn't believe in it. He believes in the NWO. But ultimately, the fans, the people spending money, the people watching the show, they believe in WCW and they want to see. And he delayed it and delayed it and delayed. I'm talking about the inevitable victory over the NWO. He delayed it until he didn't even do it at all. There's no victory over the NWO. They just kind of fade away, and that's what hurts him. But like he that's why these like a show like this, those WCW guys don't do anything because he doesn't know where to go if they get revenge. So he's putting it off.
Yeah, so let's get into the show. This is the first WCW pay-per-view of 1997. We got NWO Sold Out. Finally, a pay-per-view worth watching. The world ain't big enough for the both of us. And because if you're gonna have a tagline like that, it would be great if, as Ray said at the end, ultimately WCW people invaded, but that doesn't happen. This takes place on January 25th, 1997 in Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Birthday. My 16th birthday, Oos.
Oh, fantastic, bro. But you were doing better things on your birthday instead of watching this monkey shit.
I wasn't watching wrestling back then, no.
Yeah. 5,000 people were. 5,120 people were there in attendance to watch it live. 170,000 people watched it on pay-per-view. Sounds good, but these are actually bad numbers. I'll give you an example. The previous WCW pay-per-view sold out. No, I'm sorry. NWO, the previous pay-per-view, Starrcade, which happened in December, had 345,000 pay-per-view buys. So this is like half.
So what does Super Brawl do, by the way? Curious.
Super Brawl?
7. That's next month. That's February. What does that do?
Super Brawl does. Give me 1 second. I do have it here. Super Brawl will do 275,000
That
pay-per-view.
see, that goes with my theory. The fans want WCW to prevail. They're not interested in a show where the NWO just constantly wins, which is what is advertised for this show. I think people gotta
Yes,
like this is gonna
exactly.
be an NWO jerk off session.
Yeah, so 170,000 pay-per-view buys. Um, even though, and let's compare it to the WWF pay-per-view of January, the Royal Rumble taking place January 19th. So about a week before NWO sold out, I had over 60,000 people in attendance and 196 pay-per-view buys. So Royal Rumble, even though it's not a better show, actually it's on. Yeah, regardless, this is one of the few WWF pay-per-views that's drawing attendance and pay-per-view numbers more better than the WCW one.
Well, remember, a lot of that attendance is because of free Subway sandwiches. Okay, so
Yeah, but still, it's 60,000. I mean, even if you did more, even if 3/4 of that is free tickets, that's still more than 5,000 people in attendance.
no, I mean,
Yeah,
yes, it is, but I think Bischoff doesn't have that many comps on this show, so
yeah,
I think they lost money with that Rumble. They didn't make money.
yeah. Well, also, however, next year, 1998, they are going to turn it around, and sold out 1998 will have 380,000 pay-per-view buys. So this one's the stinker because I agree it's
Wow,
probably
that's high.
yeah,
Bro, you know what? You know why I think that one is high? You know what one of the main events is for that show? Ric Flair, Bret Hart.
yeah. I think this one's the rare one because people don't want to watch NWO win. So the numbers are low. But let's get into it. We get a black and white cold opening of the show of members of the NWO riding their Harleys on the back of garbage trucks with police escorts. They're all arriving to Cedar Rapids, saying, "Hey, we're taking over. We're taking over." And we get a montage. After this, we get a montage of the NWO of like them fucking going crazy, wrecking havoc and stuff. And basically, the montage basically is saying WCW sucks. That's the
No,
main.
the garbage truck footage was live, and it was freezing. It was snowing. It was freezing and snowing.
Yeah, there is
And
visible snow there. Yes.
and I think Nash said something to them like, "I told you we should have pre-taped this. Like, this is insane that we're doing this live." And they didn't like doing it. Nash and Hall.
Yeah, it's fucking January.
Yeah,
It's
I don't
January,
know.
one of the coldest months, and they're doing this shit. And nobody's dressed up with like winter clothes. It's just wearing leather jackets and jeans,
Yeah,
no hats, no gloves.
yeah. They
Um,
said they were dying. They were all dying. They said.
yeah, they're in their NWO gear. It's stupid. This is like the lack of preparation Eric Bischoff puts in. Speaking of Eric
Um,
Bischoff,
by the way, I did really like the little video of Eric Bischoff cutting like the Hitler style promo, with like this is a new era. I did like the video production right now is better than WWF's at this point, which is
yeah,
crazy.
and I'm
Which is
gonna
crazy.
go into that video production in a little bit. But yes, Eric Bischoff. He opens the show. There's a stage and there's a podium high on this high stage, right? Not your typical stage where you walk out like the low stage that WCW does. It's a high stage, right? Which I do like. There's a big podium up there. Eric Bischoff's on it, and he goes, "Guys, welcome the founding members of the NWO." And on three screens,
Oh, no, I'm
uh,
talking about the video package before where it ends with "What the hell were you thinking?" That one.
yeah, I know. I'm moving along. I'm
Oh, okay,
moving
sorry.
along. Yeah. So after that package, we get to the show. Like I said, Eric Bischoff's on this podium. He's on the stage on this. He's on this podium that's high on stage, and then he welcomes the three members, founding members of NWO. And on the three big screens, we get Hall, Nash, and Hulk Hogan, and they're just going like, "Hey, ooh, look at me! I'm looking at you over there, and I'm looking over here at Nash. And welcome to the NWO pay per view. Eric Bischoff threw it to us, and we're just gonna throw it back to Eric Bischoff. It was stupid and pointless. Eric Bischoff and Ted DiBiase are going to be on commentary. They do this stupid thing.
I don't know
What?
why they had Ted DiBiase on commentary after the Rumble '94. Like,
Oh, because he's supposed to be the other NWO member.
well, but then you just like be like the NWO, like you just hire a guy, you have Mark Madden do it and be like, well, the NWO hired him for tonight.
I guess, but I don't. Yeah, that could be it. But anyway, they're on commentary and they're doing this whole nonchalant thing. We're just gonna like sit and chill. Eric Bischoff, Miss Elizabeth there because she joined NWO, and he does this thing where he goes, "Hey, take off my jacket and let me get this other commentary jacket." Liz has to do it for him. And DiBiase, he's already having headset issues where you can't hear him or anything. So great job, Eric Bischoff. You're already the shitty production in this. Neil Pruitt, you were talking about the NWO production before, how these video packages they do is great. It was all the idea of this guy named Neil Pruitt. He was what?
He's also the voice of the NWO, the New World.
Exactly. Yes, I'm gonna get into it. He actually was not a WCW employee. He was a Turner employee. And Eric Bischoff came to him and said, I want like a really well done, like hip, sleek package stuff for the NWO. And Neil based it off of these hair salon commercials he had seen, these black and white hair salon commercials, right? So he based all the NWO black and white quick cut stuff on that. And there was a person who did a voiceover, and Neil said, imitating that voice, that this is the kind of voice that should come over it. And he told Eric Bischoff who the guy was, and Eric Bischoff said, well, that guy's not here. You're here, so you just do it. So Neil Pruitt, he's the guy who voices all these NWO video packages, and he is all over this pay-per-view because he's going to be doing all the introductions for all the wrestlers, all the matches, and in between matches he'll even say shit. So he is the voice of God that's going to be announcing everything for this pay-per-view. Sometimes it gets annoying, I won't lie to you. Sometimes it gets annoying, especially when he has to stutter the words.
Well, also they make him also just randomly go lose.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. He's very annoying. He has to say loser a lot. He stutters and NWO. Like, you know, he's doing it like it's so annoying. It gets really annoying. Anyway, let's go to our first match. So the way it works is there's an NWO member versus the WCW member. NWO members get an entrance theme and everything. WCW members do not get any entrance theme, and they get a shitty intro that Neil Pruitt will give, like making fun of them. So the first match is Chris Jericho, or as Neil Pruitt would say, should have stayed in hockey, Chris Jericho, versus the first international member of the NWO, Masahiro Chono. All right. Before this match, they show you like the women on these Harleys around the ring, and the commentary team, they start making fun of the women, how ugly they are. And they weren't really hot. The women who were on these bikes, they were like average frumpy looking women. It was very weird. I don't know if they did that on purpose. Did they do it on purpose?
Yeah, I think from what I remember, Bischoff thought it would be funny to have the women in the Miss NWO thing look ugly for heel heat. And then he said in the middle of doing it, he realized what a horrible idea it was. Like he's sitting there being like, "This was stupid. Why did I do this?" But
yeah, see, not a lot of preparation. Not a lot of preparation.
I don't think it's not preparation. I think he did prepare, but he's an idiot.
No, if you would have prepared, you would have actually said, "All right, let's bring out the women before the show."
If you have a bad idea, you can prepare for the bad idea, then realize it's a bad. If you don't have good ideas, even people with bad ideas prepare for them. Bad movies have preparation. It's not like people just go and make a bad movie without.
Okay, that's true too. That's true too. Yeah. But I think. Okay. Anyway, regardless, he's an idiot. All right, let's keep going. The referee for this entire
he should have just had hot chips.
Okay, yes, we got it. So the referee for this entire pay-per-view is Nick Patrick. He's the heel NWO referee. He has a goatee, a black goatee, slick, long, a little bit of a mullet, black hair. He's got an earring, I believe. He looks like as Kenny Powers from Eastbound and Down. So actually, Eastbound and Down probably got their look from Nick Patrick because Nick Patrick came first. So
He looks,
um,
dude. Nick Patrick sucks, bro. What a fucking
no, I
he's
don't.
just.
Why do you think he thinks?
I think he tried. He's like an Audrey Edwards. He thinks he tries to make the show all about himself.
No, I think. Okay, let me ask you a question. Before he was an NWO referee, was he like that?
Yeah, I think there's little moments here and there where he's not that great. Yeah.
Okay, all right. I think to me, when they made him the heel manager, they were like referee. They were like, you have to act this way. And I think he's just doing what he's being told to do. That's what I think.
Okay.
Personally, yeah.
I just
But
think it would have been better for someone else. But Danny Davis was a good heel referee. Dangerous Danny Davis.
I would have liked it better if they didn't have a heel referee at all. But
well, I mean, it makes sense. If you're gonna, if you're gonna be the end of, why would you not have an end of referee on the tape? That way you can just do what you want. You know.
Yeah, I guess. All right. So during this match, we have Sister Sherry, Harlem Heat, the Faces of Fear, one of the Nasty Boys, and the Four Horsemen. They all show up because they all want to check out this NWO pay per view, and they're sitting. They're not in gear. They're just kind of like in regular gear, regular clothes, and they're sitting around watching this. So that's kind of cool. What?
Yeah, and you'd think like it's going to lead to something. No, they just sit there and enjoy the show and leave.
Yeah. They should have, like because of that, I thought at the end too that they were gonna storm the ring or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
But none of that happened. They just sit there. You forget this is probably one of the few times we're gonna see them, and you never see them again, really. So this match is happening. Jericho and Masahiro Chono. Jericho does like a top rope dive to the floor onto Chono, but Chono still maintains control of Jericho as he's bigger than him. They do screw up a spot with Chono coming off the top. And Jericho, like it looked like he was a little annoyed by that, so he starts giving Chono some really hard slaps about it.
Oh yeah,
yeah. He looked annoyed, like, "Oh, you fucked that up," and he starts slapping him. Chono, he gets a table out, but Jericho suplexes Chono back into the ring, and then Jericho goes on the top turnbuckle. However, Chono kicks and shoves Jericho off the top through the table that was on the floor, and then they get back in the ring, and Chono hits his Mafia kick to win the match. Good seeing Masahiro Chono here, and Jericho. I like this. Good opening match. I gave it a B. Not bad opening. What did you think?
Yeah, I really liked it. I thought this was so far of the matches I've seen Jericho have on WCW pay-per-view, this was my favorite one, which I was surprised. The NWO Japan lasts longer than the NWO proper, and it has an actual ending, which the NWO. I do like the idea of NWO Japan. I do like the fact that like it feels like the NWO is again. It's one of those things where it's like it just makes you as a fan feel bigger. Like there's this whole other adventure going on somewhere else in the world, and I just think that shit is cool. And you know what? It's great. It's great not to see Sonny Ono with someone. They mentioned that Masachono kicked him to the curb, and I'm like, well, that makes him a hero to me. Doesn't make him a hero.
I do like the concept that there's an NWO Japan. Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big fan of that too.
Yeah.
So after this match, Bischoff, he talks about how there were many women who wanted to be Miss NWO for this contest. So he starts showing pictures of the women who all wrote in to apply for this Miss NWO contest. And as they're showing it, we start getting boring chants from the crowd. And Bischoff then throws to this gentleman named Jeffrey Katz. Jeffrey Katz I will be the host of the Miss NWO competition that's going to be happening throughout this pay-per-view, and at the end there'll be a crowning of a Miss NWO. If you want to know where this guy Jeffrey Katz came from, he was the host of an AM sports talk radio show. And when he was still in high school, 16, 17 years old, he had this AM radio sports show. And he would often get wrestlers on his show and he would interview them. Eric Bischoff caught wind of this kid and he was like, I like him. Let's hire this kid. So this kid would go to high school and then like on the weekends he would go travel with nWo and with WCW. And he would do the commentary for the WCW pay-per-views on the online stream. Remember how on the online you could listen to the pay-per-view? You can't watch it, but you could listen to it. He would do he was doing the commentary for that. And he also Jeffrey Katz would also help Mean Gene Okerlund do the hotline for him. And then there was a separate nWo hotline that he would be in charge of. But not only that, you're gonna find this interesting about him. But after he leaves WCW, he will start working for New Line Cinema, and he helped produce Freddy versus Jason, the movie.
Yes, I remember that. Yes, that is true.
Yes, and Snakes on a Plane.
Oh, that's the big one.
Yeah, and he is a very big comic book fan, so he actually wrote Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash, the comic book.
Yeah, I remember that. Yes.
Yeah. He sounds cool, but let me tell you, in this show, he is not cool. He's fucking annoying.
Yeah, no, he's a kind of idiot.
Yeah, he has to ask all these ladies questions and stuff like that. So the first lady, he asked the question, what does nWo going all the way mean to you? And this lady's like, Falacia? I was like, what the fuck does that mean? So anyway, he moves along. He goes to the second lady and he asks, what would you do to tame the wild beast, Kevin Nash? And she goes, anything it takes.
And she looks rough, dude.
Yeah.
You're not expressing how rough these women look. They look like they were passed out at a bar and dragged into the fucking studio.
I mean, some of them, they just look like average women. They just look like average moms or whatever. Eric Bischoff goes on commentary, this is too much. This doesn't even feel like I'm working. Yeah, because you're barely working, you asshole. You didn't. These are his words. I don't even feel like I'm working. Yeah, you didn't put any effort into anything. That's why it's turning out the way it is. But anyway, we're gonna get back to Jeffrey Katz later, but we got to go to match number 2, Ray. It is the Mexican Death Match. It is
real Mexican.
Yeah, Mexican Death Match. The city of LA versus Ice. This is that's what it should be, but it's not. We're gonna get Hugh Morris, or as Neil Pruitt would say, something funnier than his laugh. Hugh Morris, I don't know whatever that means. Who comes out with
because you say the name out loud together, it's humorous.
Yeah, I know, but something funnier than his laugh. I don't get that.
I guess it's supposed to be like he's like shitting on the name, being like humorous is funnier than laughing. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's all actions.
Yeah, and humorous comes out with Jimmy Hart, and he's gonna be facing nWo member Big Bubba Rogers. So Hugh Morris, he pushes Bubba into the steps on the outside. They get back in the ring. Bubba low blows Hugh Morris twice, right? But the referee is Nick Patrick, so he can't really call it. Hugh sends Bubba back outside, and then Jimmy Hart, when the ref's not looking, starts getting his kicks in on Bubba Rogers, which gets cheers from the crowd, right? Bubba, because they like the nWo because they're cool, but they also still know that they're the heel, so it's cool to cheer them when they start losing or whatever,
Yeah.
Bubba hits a charging Hugh Morris. Hugh Morris starts charging at Bubba back in the ring, and Bubba hits him in the face with chains, and then starts whipping him with the chain because it's a Mexican death match, so you could kind of do whatever you want. So actually, I forgot about the low blow. Yeah, you're allowed to do that. Hugh Morris then gets the chains from Bubba, and he uses it on Bubba, and then he hits his no laughing matter top rope moonsault, which is fantastic. It gets a huge pop from the crowd because it looks impressive from a big fucking dude. And then the way you're supposed to win this is The referee has to do a count. Basically, it's a no, last man standing match. You referee count 10. If you don't get up, you lose, right? But Nick Patrick does a very slow count for Bubba Rogers. So Bubba gets back up. Then they fight their way to the stage. And Hugh Morris goes, I'm going to try to go for a moonsault again off that elevated stage. However, he misses. And he misses and he rolls down the ramp a little bit. But then Bubba Rogers, he gets one of those Harleys. He gets one of those bikes on the ramp, and then he runs over Hugh Morris. And then Hugh Morris, because he got run over by a motorcycle, he can't get up for the 10 count. Big Bubba wins the match. Entertaining. I found it very entertaining. I gave it a B as well. What about you?
Yeah, I thought this was surprisingly good, especially Big Bubba hasn't really been delivering in the ring
Yes.
for a little bit. Although he hasn't, not like he hasn't really been put on pay-per-view for a while. But I thought this was pretty good. Good effort from the Big Bubba. I thought both guys. Uh, again, I think my only problem is Jimmy Hart. I mean, it's you know what it's you know what it's like. You know what it is? It's like imagine. I don't even know, bro. Imagine like fucking the Godwins were still in WWE and they're still acting like the Godwins with Hillbilly Jim. Like imagine like that's still happening to it. It's just such a it just he doesn't fit anymore. And I think the only reason he's still around is because of Hogan, you know?
Yeah. And, going back to Bubba Rogers, I think like these are the kind of matches you got to put in Big Bubba Rogers later, like in around this time. So it's like a hardcore match, let him use weapons and shit. It's kind of like more his wheelhouse. Jimmy Hart, like he's annoying, but he really wasn't too involved in the match, so that I kind of like that. This is a good showing by Hugh Morris, though. Hugh Morris did look good, so
Oh yeah, no, it definitely was so far. I mean, not that we've seen that much of Hugh Morris on our journey, but it's definitely the best Hugh Morris match I've seen in a while.
yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
we'll see if he can top this as we continue our adventures.
So yeah, we're already two matches in. They're both good, but every time we have a good match, the momentum gets ruined by Jeffrey Katz talking to more of these frumpy women. So yeah, we're back to Jeffrey
By
Katz.
the way, you didn't mention it, so I'm wondering if you didn't notice it. Did you notice the swipe at Vince McMahon during
No,
this?
no. Tell us, please.
He this Bischoff says like everyone here is paid. We didn't have to give away tickets at the 7-Eleven or at the Subway shop. We didn't have to beg people to fill up our arena. Everyone here wants to be here.
Wow, that's very, very. I didn't recall hearing that, but that is a good dig. That's a very good dig. Yeah.
Yeah, basically. Okay, yeah, everyone here actually paid money to be here. Like people want to be here. Like, we'd have to it was a good dig. And he's feeling so confident right now. Like in this era, I'm not saying today, but in this era, he knows he has his motherfucker down, you know?
Yeah, yeah. It's Eric Bischoff's like one of those people. Like he'll like you never ever want to put this guy in charge or like like the way he's acting now in this pay per view is how he really is in real life. You
Yes.
know?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of what it is. That humble whatever. That's not who he is. This is who he really is.
I wish he would be more because I don't think he likes Vince McMahon, and I wouldn't like Vince McMahon. I don't like Vince McMahon to be honest with you, but I wish he was a little bit more honest about how much he wishes he like ruined Vince McMahon's life, because he like tries to downplay it, and he's like, I love Vince McMahon now, and like nobody could do it. I wish he was more like, fuck that guy. I almost kicked his fucking ass. He's a fucking loser. Like I wish he was more, because I know that's how he was. I know he wanted Vince McMahon to be homeless, and that's okay. I want you to feel that way. I want you to feel that way.
Yeah, you're right. But he won't admit it because he at the end of the day he still thinks Vince McMahon can help him make some more money later on. Give him a
Yeah.
job.
Or even like even if he probably knows that if he just said how he feels, there's people in WWE that will try to fuck with him.
Exactly, because there's still a lot of junior supporters. Yes.
But
Um,
I know that he wishes that he won. I know it. You can't. Why? You have to wish that. You're an idiot if you.
So after that match, we got Jeffrey Katz back on stage with some more women. This time, so he's always going to ask two women questions. Third lady, third contestant, he asks, "What would you do to get into a Hulk Hogan movie?" And she says, "Whatever it takes." Similar to the second lady, and on commentary, Eric Bishop's like, didn't the last lady say that the same way? Whatever it takes with a shoulder shimmy. So it's getting annoying. The fourth lady, um, basically Jeffrey Katz alludes to her being a prostitute, basically, and he asks, "What's your price?" And then she goes, "You will walk away with a big bill." It's like, all right. So I don't know. It was so weird. It's so awkward. It's so embarrassing. I got such secondhand embarrassment watching this shit. Like he's basically referring to her as a prostitute, right?
But
And
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if these women were like the local rats. Like these were the women that
no,
would.
that's 100% where he's getting these people. Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
He's
Like these are
Eric
not
Bischoff
women
is
that.
constantly Eric Bishop is constantly saying, "Oh, we picked these women who we didn't have to fly over here, right? Like they were cheap." He kept going, "They're cheap. We didn't have to fly any of them over here." So it's like, they're
Wait,
100% the local women. Yes.
did you hear the other dig? He said something like the set costs a lot of money and something like the set cost something costs a lot of money. He says it to Ted DiBiase. And Ted DiBiase says, "Yeah, but we can cover it." And he goes, "Yeah, because we're spending all of Ted Turner's money," and starts laughing. Like he says something cost them a lot of money, like something like almost like, "Oh wow, we spent way too much money on this." And he's like, "Well, whatever, it's Ted
I
Turner."
do remember that where he was basically referring to it like it's Ted Turner's money and he laughs at it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
dude, it's so, I don't know.
okay, the thing with that though is that it fits his character, right?
No, but I would I wish I don't know. I like the fact that like there's almost like this honesty that's coming through. It's just
I'm saying like I also fits the Eric Bischoff like the
yes,
heel
yes, yeah.
character. Yeah. So I was like, yeah, it is what it is. I'm sure there's a lot of truth in that, but that's what it was. Let's go back. Let's go back to the ring. We got a third match. It is Jeff Jarrett versus Michael Wall Street. Um, Jeff Jarrett, he does have an edge over Michael Wall Street, but when he's going for this attack, Nick Patrick shoves Wall Street out of the way for Jeff Jarrett to get crotch on the ropes, and then Wall Street rams Jeff Jarrett into the guardrails on the outside, and whips him over the guardrails into the crowd on the floor. As I mentioned, some of the horsemen are in the audience watching the match, and Deborah is there with Steve Mongo McMichael, and she's worried for Jeff Jarrett because she likes Jeff Jarrett, and she wants Jeff Jarrett in the horsemen. And she starts begging Mongo, we gotta help Jeff. We gotta help Jeff. And Jeff Jarrett, he does get the figure four locked in on Michael Wall Street. But once again, evil heel referee Nick Patrick helps Wall Street reach the ropes to get out of the figure four. Then Michael Wall Street has the abdominal stretch on Jeff Jarrett. And now it's his turn for Wall Street to hold on to the ropes to cheat. But Mongo finally gets talked into going down to the ring by Deborah. And Mongo gets on the apron and he hits Wall Street on the head with his briefcase, and Wall Street goes down. And Nick Patrick looks at him, but he threatens to hit Nick Patrick with the briefcase. So Nick Patrick does a really quick count for Jeff Jarrett to win the match. When he wins, the crowd loves it. They go nuts for it. I thought this was an entertaining match. I liked it. I also gave this a B. What did you think?
This Mongo Jeff Jarrett storyline is so dumb. It goes nowhere. It's one of the worst storylines I've ever done. It was okay. I didn't like it as much as you. I get annoyed by that story. I get annoyed. I just get annoyed. And you know why? Because like I listened to an episode of the podcast. Even Jeff Jarrett can't he can't explain like the beginning, middle, and end. It's just this muddle of nonsense. Like Deborah wants to help Jeff, Mongo doesn't. The horseman like Jeff. Jeff doesn't know if he was a horseman or not. He doesn't know what the end result was supposed to be. Like, it's just a fucking, like, what is the point of half this bullshit? Doesn't lead to anything. It just gets dropped. I guess this resolution is Deborah shows up in WWE with Jeff. So I guess in kayfabe they fucked, but I don't know.
Well, Jeff Jarrett does end up at the end of his storyline. He does end up an actual horseman.
No, he's never a horseman.
I'm not even. No, he is a horseman. You can look it up.
No, he's not a horseman.
Yes, he is.
He's not. Eric Bischoff, Kevin Sullivan, everyone who wrote the storyline said he was never an official horseman. That's a lie.
I'm gonna disagree, but we'll actually because it's gonna come up later on. But anyway,
you know what? We'll see what.
Let me finish. What?
Well, as we watch the shows, we'll see.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I was trying to get at. Like, we'll see because there's gonna be another match that's gonna come up in the later pay-per-views, right? However, I'm just looking at this match, not in the long storyline that he has with Mongo, but just the story of this match. The story of this match made sense to me. You know, there's a heel referee and he's fucking over Jeff Jarrett, and he needed, Deborah needed to talk this guy into, helping Jeff Jarrett reluctantly. I like that, and the crowd liked it too. So that's why I liked about it.
Yeah, anyway. I could take it or leave it, but yeah, and you know me about Jeff Jarrett. You know me.
Yeah, I get it. I know you don't like Jeff Jarrett. I don't, unfortunately, unlike you, I do not use my biases to rate.
Well, I mean, if this guy got good, but he's not good. He's the worst.
All right. So speaking of Jeffs, we got Jeff Katz again on the stage. He's with the two more women. He's the fifth lady. He goes, describe your best anatomy. And she goes, my feet? Right? I was like, all right, whatever that means. This stuff is so cringy. The sixth lady, Jeff asks, hey, we got a new member of the nWo. His name's Buff Bagwell. What material would you use to buff Bagwell? And she answers, how will I explain this? That's her answer, guys. Let me tell you guys think about these segments that happens in between every single match. It kills the momentum of the pay-per-view. The crowd in attendance hates this. The women, it's very unfair to the women to be put in these stupid positions, and it's not entertaining at all. I hated these segments.
This is time that could have been used for a WCW attack angle.
Yes.
If you take all these segments out, you can have WCW attack in the middle. By the way, really quick on Wikipedia, to this date, amongst fans and members of the Four Horsemen, there is still debate whether to include Jarrett as a horseman. This is from Wikipedia. In his biography, Arn Anderson states that Jeff Jarrett was never a horseman. His membership and his easy departure leave the situation ambiguous. The Four Horsemen usually pick their own members, but at the time, WCW held extreme control of the storylines. So both Ric Flair and Arn Anderson have said he was never a horseman.
So there is a match that he will have where if he wins, he gets to become a horseman.
Yeah, I know he wins it, but then he leaves. I don't know. I say he's not. If Arn and Ric Flair like he's not, I'm just gonna say he's not.
I mean, what do you call it? I'm just going by storyline. He won the match, so he becomes a horseman. That happens, right?
We gotta watch the footage during that era to see what the announcers are saying and what Arn's saying as a character, and then we'll.
Okay, so there isn't a definite yes or no. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
right?
I would go with no because I think he stinks, and I'm gonna listen because Arn Anderson doesn't say it about any other member. He says Paul Roma was a horseman. He says who's the other guy who stinks? Sid Vicious was a horseman. This is the only one he's like, this guy wasn't really a horseman.
Okay. Well, I say he is because of that stipulation, and he was in it. So, anyway, whatever. Regardless, I really don't care too much. But
we gotta care. We're doing a podcast about it. All right, let's keep going.
Yeah. Well, no, because it's an argument we're gonna have for when that pay-per-view happens, where he has to have
Well,
that match.
we got to get to it. We got time. We got time.
Yeah, that's
So
what
you
I'm
got a
saying.
horseman, right? Okay, so let's say as of sold out, he's not a horseman. We can agree
No,
on that.
as of sold out. No, no, no. Okay. Yes, I agree. As
You didn't
of
take
this
that
match, he is not a horseman. He's trying to be a horseman, but
yet. Yeah.
people like Mongo in the storyline don't want him
But
to be a horseman, but Deborah wants him to be a horseman.
can I tell you this is why this storyline is shit? Because not even Arn Anderson and Ric Flair know, like nobody can agree what the storyline was, and like no one's like arguing. No one sits there and is like fucking Mr. Ass wasn't a member of the fucking DX. Like it's very cut and dry that Mr. Ass was in DX. You know.
So if you go to like Wikipedia, they even have him listed as a member of the Horsemen.
Well, listen.
Yeah,
Let's just stick with where we are in the timeline, and we'll figure it
yeah,
out as we get.
of course,
I
yeah,
haven't.
yeah.
The
Like
other
I
thing too is
said,
I haven't seen
I
these
was actually now
97
we.
Gootz, you
What?
there? I haven't seen any of these
What
97
did you
pay per
say?
views. I haven't seen these 97 pay per views ever, these WCW ones. So, you
Me
know?
too. Me too. Me too. Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so
Yeah.
we
So
have to
it's a
see
fun
how they
ride so
address
far.
that character.
I know. I know. You're the one who brought it up, brother. You know. I know. I said
Well,
let's go. I
it was
said we were going to talk
because
about it like later on.
Ric Flair and Jeff Jarrett have a big fight on the podcast about whether or not he was a horseman. This is like a couple of years ago.
I don't really care what Ric Flair has to say sometimes. Ric Flair, you talk about another hypocrite. Ric Flair's another hypocrite.
I mean, yes, but like when we're talking about like members of the horseman. All right, let's keep moving. Let's keep moving. Ric Flair's not even on the show. So.
We're going to go to match number 4. As Jeffrey Katz mentioned, Buff Bagwell is in this match. It is Scott Riggs, who Neil Pruitt says he's always been number 2. He's the American male loser because he was in a tag team with Alexander Bagwell called the American Males, but they broke up. But that's Scott Riggs versus Buff Bagwell, who used to be Alexander Bagwell. Scotty Riggs attacks. Buff Bagwell's opposing, and then Scotty Riggs attacks him from behind. They're back and forth until Riggs does a hip tosses Buff Bagwell outside, and then he does his own plancha onto Buff Bagwell. I was like very impressed by that. Scott Riggs, he gets whipped into the guardrails by Buff Bagwell for Buff to start the beatdown process. Now, during this pay-per-view, they do have I guess you call it the nWo camera. There's like this long stick, right? And there's a camera on the end of it. And what do you call it? Eric Bischoff starts talking it up. Wait, we got our own camera. We got this innovative camera. You get these camera shots, and they show it a lot during this match, and it's so fucking shaky. It's very annoying. It's actually terrible. It's a terrible idea.
I didn't like it.
Yeah, I didn't like it either. Here's an interesting fact to know about this nWo sold out. Eric Bischoff tells us the Super Bowl is actually the very next day on Sunday. But Buff Bagwell's going to miss it because the very next day he has to go to Japan to represent the nWo or something.
Well, how did Buff Bagwell survive without seeing the '97 Super Bowl? I mean, what a rough life.
Yeah. So Eric Bischoff, he starts on commentary. He shits on Roddy Piper. He shits on Randy Savage, Ric Flair, and then he goes and everyone else who went to Connecticut. He says, he goes, we got rid of Piper. We're getting rid of Savage, Ric Flair, anybody else who went to Connecticut. It's a little dig on WWF. So during this match, this is the match especially where Neil Pruitt says loser a lot during the match. He just goes loser like every 2 minutes during this match.
Yeah.
Fans start chanting Bagwell sucks. And then during this match, when Scott Riggs starts firing back up, he moons Buff Bagwell, and this allows him to start firing up hard. He hits a tornado DDT, then he hits a power bomb, but he can't get the win. But then Buff Bagwell gets on the second turnbuckle and hits his new finishing move called the Buff Blockbuster to win the match. Afterwards, He starts dancing with the ladies on the stage. Good showing by both men, in my opinion. I gave it a B minus. I like this match as well.
I didn't like this
Right?
match. I just can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You say you didn't like this match, huh?
Did not like this match. It never really got out of first gear for me. It felt like a very boring TV match. I don't think Scotty Riggs is good at anything. Um, and I think Buff Bagwell is still a little bit too new. Maybe if I had been watching Nitro regularly, I would have got more into it. But to me, it's like we got to just move past. To me, it's like I never saw anything of Scotty Riggs. I don't think he had anything, and you're wasting Buff Bagwell's time. And also, Buff Bagwell doesn't have the energy to carry him. So I didn't really like it. What did you like about it, if you don't mind me asking? What do you think, Andrew?
I mean, but you wouldn't you agree like they needed to have this match because they were former tag team partners?
Yeah, they do, but it doesn't need to go on that long. And
Oh, okay.
I mean, yes, yeah, I mean, yes, he should try to get revenge, and what's it, and Buff Bagwell should beat him, but I think it should be much shorter. You know?
Oh, okay. All right. I thought Scott Riggs was impressive in this match. I mean, he did a plancha and everything. A tornado DDT. I thought he was good. But anyway, we can disagree. We're so far. This is one of those pay-per-views where we have different views on a couple of things, which is good. That's interesting.
Yeah, no, it's good.
I would like to get your take on this next thing with Jeff Katz. So he's with lady number 7, and he goes, would you dress up as with I forget what he asked actually, but whatever he asked the lady, she just goes, "Sure, why not?" That was her answer. It's stupid. Um, Lady 8, he asks, you know what? I'm gonna skip this because I didn't take good notes here. I think I was starting to get sick and tired of Jeff Katz talking these women.
Here is the summary. It was awful, and then another match happened.
Yeah, yeah.
Nothing good happens in these segments. They're
Yeah,
all
nothing
terrible.
good happens in segments. Yeah, you're right. Nothing good. It's just awful. Let's go to match number 5. It is Diamond Dallas Page versus Scott Norton. And they say DDP is gonna pay for turning down the nWo because DDP has done this now. He's turned him down, and they're saying he's gonna pay for that. DDP, he's out in the ring. He's puffing his cigar. Start the match. He has a nonchalant attitude because he's still the Diamond Dallas Page. But then when he gets knocked down, he realizes I can't be like this. So he gets serious. There is a big blonde lady sitting in the front row, right in front of the Faces of Fear. They show Faces of Fear, and there's a big lady sitting right in front of her, right in front of them. And Ted DiBiase asks, "Hey, is that Brian Knobs?" Which fucking made me fucking laugh.
That
It's
was
so
funny.
mean. Yeah, it was so mean, but it was so like on point. It was awesome. Anyways, DDP starts signaling for the cutter, which gets a pop from the crowd because everybody loves that move. But Scott Norton starts firing back. Crowd starts cheering for Sting all of a sudden, who does show up. He shows up in the crowd as Scott Norton's putting the beating on DDP. DDP starts firing back, but then Buff Bagwell comes out, and he comes out with the rest of the nWo, and they get on the microphone, and Buff Bagwell is like, "We like you, DDP. We like you, okay?" And Buff Bagwell, Blake Bubba Rogers, Vincent, Michael Wall Street, they start surrounding the ring with Nick Patrick. And DDP gets the microphone and he says, "Hey, it's all cool. It's all cool. No problems between me and you guys." And Buff Bagwell's like, "Okay, okay." So Buff Bagwell has an nWo shirt.
Mm-hmm.
And keep in mind, you have to keep in mind what happened. On January 13th, which is about a week and a half or so before this pay-per-view, DDP was given an nWo shirt by Hall and Nash, and DDP like turned him down, and he fucking gave Scott Hall the cutter, and then he ran away. This is like 10 days ago, so this is still fresh, right? So they're kind of doing it again, right? hey, we're giving you a second chance to join the NWO. And Scott Norton's there too, but Scott Norton's been wrestling DDP, so he's like hesitant, like, I don't think we should be fucking just giving this guy the shirt and just letting him to the NWO. But everyone's like, nah, he's cool, he's cool. So even Scott Norton's like, finally, he's like, all right, fine. And he gives DDP a double high five. But as he does that, DDP turns that into a cutter and he gives fucking Scott Norton the cutter, which gets a huge pop from the audience. DDP starts beating up all the members of the NWO, and then he runs through the crowd, and then he rips up his NWO shirt, and Buff Bagwell in the ring starts yelling, "You don't know what you've done. You're never going to be NWO now." And Nick Patrick gives the win to Scott Norton because DDP left, so it's a count out. This was fantastic. I gave this a B. I liked it. What about you?
Yeah, I like this match. I like the angle. Buff Bagwell, he's no Hall, Nash, or Hogan on the mic, but it's good. It's a good little segment between them, and you're getting DDP over. And it's great. It's great. I enjoyed this moment. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. It's not like a fantastic match, but there's a lot of story happening in this match.
It's more about getting DDP over, which is important.
Yeah. It is. You're right. You're absolutely right about that. And I think it did. It actually worked too. Unfortunately, after this match, we got to go back to Jeff Katz, and he is with Lady Number 9. And Lady Number 9, he asks, "Hey, what's your favorite move?" And she says, "I would show you, but there are children watching." I was like, that's the best answer we've gotten from one of these ladies so far, right?
Yeah,
that
was good.
Lady Number 10, he asks, "What will you do with Masahiro Chono?" And she says, "Anything he wants, as long as he has some chopsticks." So that's great. We got that generic answer, but with a little bit of a hint of racism. All right, fantastic.
We need some racism.
And all of this, by the way, is happening. This whole Jeffrey Katz segment is happening over a replay of what we were seeing with DDP. So it's like such a poorly produced fucking pay-per-view. It's so poorly produced. See, this is what I'm talking about. It's not like there's no more effort into any of this. But anyway,
it's WCW. They've been this way since 1983.
They've been this way since 1983. That's the truth, though. They've been this way since 1983. When we first started watching, there's been an issue in every single pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Let's go to match number 6. This is for the tag titles. We got the Steiner brothers, Rick and Scott Steiner, versus the tag team champions Hall and Nash, the Outsiders. Scott Hall is in there with Scott Steiner, and Scott Steiner is just manhandling Scott Hall, who is not a small man himself. And during this match, where Scott Steiner is beating the shit out of Scott Hall with what looks like very snug shots, Brian Knobbs is in the crowd, and he starts standing up, and he is loving this shit. He's just like super into it. Now, where is Jerry Sags? Well, here's what we need to know. I don't know if you probably heard the story. January 4th, 1997, there was a WCW house show in Louisiana. It was a 3-way tag, and Scott Hall and Jerry Sags kind of got into it, where Sags thought he got hit with a potato from Scott Hall, and he thought it was like a real live round, so he started shooting on Scott Hall, like really punching him in the face, right? Bloodying him up, even knocked out one of Scott Hall's tooth, one of his tooth. He got a lot of heat for this. Like, we're talking Mr. Iguana levels of heat for this. And Jerry Sags would have to retire. He retires in 1997.
For a little bit. He comes back.
Yeah, for a little bit, yeah. He comes back in 2001, actually, right?
Yeah.
But that's why Jerry Sags is not here anymore. It's just Brian Knobbs. And Brian Knobbs is really happy to watch Scott Hall get hit by Scott Steiner. The Steiner brothers, they do have the edge until a cheap shot. Scott Hall takes a cheap shot at Rick Steiner, and then the Outsiders start doing a beatdown process on Rick Steiner. Kevin Nash even spits on Scott Steiner, which causes a distraction with the referee, which allows Rick Steiner to get low, allows Rick Steiner to low blow Kevin Nash. to finally hot tag his brother in, Scott Steiner. All four men, they kind of get into, they all start brawling, and then Hall hits his outsider's edge on Scott Steiner. But when this happened, the referee got knocked out the ring. So Nick Patrick got knocked out of the ring, so he couldn't make the 3 count. Rick Steiner hits a top rope bulldog. And then Randy Anderson, who was sitting in the crowd watching this pay-per-view like all the members of WWE, he comes in from the crowd and he counts the finish for this cover. The crowd loves it. The Steiner brothers have won the tag team championship. Eric Bischoff and Ted DiBiase are super mad. They're mad. They're like, "Oh, Randy Anderson, you're gonna pay for this. What the hell? He's supposed to be in the audience. What's he jumping into the ring for?" What's going to happen is he is going to be fired on Nitro, fake fired on Nitro on January 27th. The Steiner brothers have to return the tag team titles because technically Randy Anderson wasn't the referee. Randy Anderson, he does come back into being a referee. And then until 1999, when he will discover that he has cancer, and he's going to pass away in 2002 at the age of 42. But this is probably one of his highlights of his referee career. This was a good match. I liked it. I gave it a B. What about you? Thoughts on this match? Randy Anderson as well. Do you have any thoughts about him?
A really good match.
What did you like?
Really what I thought the action was great. I thought the finish was very inventive. And finally, here's the great part. Finally, WCW gets involved, but it's a fucking ref who gets involved, not like a real fucking athlete. This leads to a great angle.
What about Monzo?
Oh yeah, but that's like he's getting involved with the WCW guys. Not like he's trying to, you know what I mean? It's not like I want like the WCW guys to storm the ring and beat the shit out of the outsiders. You know, that's what should have happened. But I like the angle. The pop the Steiners get when they win is huge. The Steiners could still go as a team. It's great. You know, we only have a year left with them, really. By February of '98, Scott turns on Rick. So, and then he's Big Papa Pump for the rest of his life. I thought this was really good. That was a lot of fun. And this does a great angle where Eric Bischoff fires Randy Anderson live on Nitro, and then he comes back with his kids and begs for his job, and he fires Randy again in front of his kids, which is another good angle.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He died very young, man, 42. That's very sad.
He couldn't handle getting fired by Eric Bischoff.
Yeah, but this was good. Yeah, I agree, though. This is like probably his crowning moment. Let's go to match number 7. It is for a ladder match for the U.S. title. Eddie Guerrero, or as Neil Pruitt would say, Mexican jumping bean Eddie Guerrero versus Six, the champion, the U.S. champion, who was 1-2-3 Kid, formerly the 1-2-3 Kid. Eddie Guerrero attacks right away, but Six, he's got a martial arts background, and his kicks are just too much for Eddie Guerrero. He gives Eddie Guerrero a really hard chop that Eric Bischoff says, "Wow, that chop even hurt Hector," which I thought was really funny too. That was a good one. Eddie Guerrero though fires back. He fires back with a dive off the top to the floor. This match is good, but the only problem so far was Eric Bischoff, because Six has a martial arts background. He starts going on to this long rant about karate during this match. Right? I was like, dude, we get it. You like karate. Like, he just starts talking about karate like crazy. Anyway, getting back to this match. Six vertical suplexes Eddie from the ring to the floor hard. During this point, a fan yells, "Eddie's a faggot," like really loud. I was like, what the fuck? A somersault dive by Six from the ring to the floor. Six, remember, this is a ladder match. So finally, Six goes to get the ladder from the stage area. What I like about this ladder match so far is like the ladder is not a weapon. It's just like they're just like it's a tool. It's an actual tool to get to the ring, right?
You know what it is about this match, which is good, is that they don't have they don't have a bunch of stupid ladder matches to cull from, which I feel like now like everyone's ripping everyone off. So they're thinking of it logically, whereas I just need this to get to the belt. I'm not going to use it as a weapon, you know?
Yeah. What do you call it? Sorry, some stupid idiot fucking messaged me. All right. So yeah, I agree. That's what makes it good. I guess you can't do ladder matches like this anymore, I guess, because the cat's out of the bag. Is that why?
I mean, look, you can do whatever you want. It's just you have to re-educate the fans, you know?
Yeah. You're right. Um, all right. So after Six starts getting the ladder from the stage, I think the same fan he yells, "Six, you're a faggot!" Right? So
I love that this is
he's
still
calling
on
everybody a
Peacock.
faggot. What?
I love that all this is still on Peacock.
Yeah, it's still on Peacock. You can still hear it. Six rams Eddie Guerrero with the ladder against the ring. Right? That's the first time it's being used as a weapon, but it's just like it makes sense. Like, boom, I'm gonna hit you with that. And then he does that thing where Eddie Guerrero seesaws the ladder into Six's face. Like, and like Six is like pulling the ladder into the ring, and Eddie Guerrero dives on it, hits one end, the other end goes up, hits the guy, hits Six in the face. This gets an Eddie chant from the crowd because it was a cool spot. Then Six whips Eddie Guerrero into the ladder hard. Both are down as fans start chanting for Eddie. Six pop up. He pops up. He pops up and he drops Eddie knees first into the ladder. Six tries to ride the ladder down, but Eddie Guerrero he drop kicks the ladder. This is like when Six is on the top turnbuckle and he's holding the ladder. He's trying to like ride it down, but Eddie Guerrero drop kicks the ladder into Six's face, which crotches him on the top rope. Then they both set up the ladder and they both start climbing the ladder to the top. But then Six on the top of the ladder, he hits like a jumping sidekick on Eddie, and they both fall down. They're tired, they're exhausted. They both start climbing the ladder again, and Eric Bischoff on commentary, he's rallying Six by saying, "Come on, do this one for Alice in Chains." I have no idea what that means, but that's exactly what he says. He says, "Do it for Alice in Chains." I don't know what that fucking means.
That's a band. That's a band. I don't know why they said that. Yeah.
I know. I love Alice in Chains, the band, but I don't know what that has to do with Six. You know, I guess he loves Alice in Chains. I guess. They both they both climb up the top rope, the top ladder, to the top of the ladder, and they both get the belt off the hook, right? But then as they get the belt off the hook, they start like doing a little back and forth. Eddie hits Six with the belt for Six to fall, and Eddie wins the title. Then Eddie Guerrero gets down. And he tells the nWo to kiss my ass. And he leaves through the crowd and he celebrates with the fans and the WCW wrestlers who are in the crowd. They start celebrating with Eddie Guerrero, kind of like almost like when he won the world title. But this was first. I did not ever hear about this ladder match. This is not a ladder match that a lot of people talk about. When they talk about ladder matches, they always talk about TLC, the Hardys, and Edge and Christian and the Dudley Boys. They talk about Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon at WrestleMania. But this was a fantastic ladder match that I think everyone should go out of their way to watch. Six versus Eddie Guerrero. I gave this an A. How do you feel about this ladder match?
I thought it was a great ladder match. I thought that Eddie Guerrero was firing all cylinders. I thought Six was, again, there's only been two other ladder matches on pay-per-view up until this point. It was Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon both times, This isn't like an old dude. I remember when they announced the Rock versus Triple H ladder match, people were like so excited because it just didn't happen. That's like the third ladder match in WWF. So it's like, oh my God, what are these guys going to do? It was like an event. And now it's like, fucking Chad Gable fell on his head yet last week. And we forgot about it,
Yeah. Now they're so commonplace.
Yeah, and you almost forget that WCW did them, but this was good. But, to the victor go the spoils. First of all, WCW did nothing to celebrate this match. WWF let everyone know as soon as that first ladder match was over that it was like the best thing they've ever done. And they went on and on about it. WCW never did that about this match. It's almost like I never heard about it. it's on a WWF DVD Best of Ladder Matches, which is where I first saw it. So WWF did more to celebrate this match, and Eddie Guerrero and X Pac never really talk about it, but it's a good
Yeah,
match.
that's another thing.
I think
I didn't really ever hear Eddie Guerrero talk about this match. X Pac, even to this day, I don't really recall him talking about it. When people talk about great ladder matches, nobody brings it up. But this is fantastic. I give this is like a must watch ladder match in my opinion.
I think the reason they don't talk about it, I think the reason that they number one, I think because the show is so bad, they didn't put it like it wasn't out on VHS. This show, so, and I think a lot of people like Eric Bischoff immediately like kind of just is like that show stunk and he forgets about it, right? That's kind of a forgotten about show, and I think that Eddie Guerrero didn't like to celebrate. I don't think both guys like to celebrate the WCW 10. He likes the what's his name, our friend X Pac likes to celebrate that he was in the NWO, but I think he was very upset the way it ended. I think he thought he was done dirty, so he didn't really talk about it. Now him and Bischoff are cool, but when it went down, I don't think he was happy about it. So he's not gonna sit around in 2001 and be like, "Oh, my ladder match with Eddie Guerrero was so great."
Yeah, that's a fair point. But everyone, yeah, please go out of your way, watch this match. It is fantastic. Unfortunately, we got to get back to Jeffrey Katz.
The real
and
star.
he is with what? World
The
Star?
real star. The real star.
The real star. I thought you said World Star. I was like, what?
World Star too.
But yeah, the real star. The real stars. You're right. Jeffrey Katz. He's with all the contestants, all the ladies, and each one starts dancing awkwardly as he calls them forward. Here are the names of the ladies. We got Natalie Jens, Lori Proctor, Rachel Drumbling, Dee Zilly, who has these big fake boobs. She is the favorite in the crowd. Dee Zilly. Connie Leeper, who she's basically a mom. She looks like a mom. She's dressed like a mom. She got mom jeans on. She got those big mom glasses. Connie Leeper is a school bus driver. They give you little factoids about them. She's a school bus driver, and her favorite quote is, "Shut up, you brats." That is her.
That's
There
great.
is
Ella. Nowadays, if they aired that, let's say AEW aired that about this woman, Twitter would get her fired. That's your favorite thing? You're abusive to the kids. I don't want you to. She would get fired.
Yeah. Yeah. They got the next contestant is Ella Christensen, who is a semi-retired grandma. That's her occupation. Belly Paint, Becca Paint, not Belly Paint, Becca Paint, who is a homemaker mom. Well, so a lot of moms in this. Trisha Riston, and her graphic says Ms. Mary. It doesn't even say her name. And then Mary Colbert, who gets a big cheers. I guess she's a crowd favorite. And then Jody Marco is the last one. And Eric Bischoff. What?
Jody Marco Cerezi?
Who's that?
John Marco Cerezi. That's the comedian. I made a joke.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Okay. They do tell us the fan voting in this doesn't matter for shit because Eric Bischoff gets to pick the winner. There's a fucking fake band on the stage playing music, by the way, during this whole thing. Eric Bischoff, he tells us he picked these women because he's cheap. And all of them they all have hogs. They all have Harley Davidsons, which I like. I don't get it, Eric Bischoff. You're cheap, but you like spending Ted Turner's money. Which is it, brother?
I think when it comes to his own money, he's cheap.
Yeah, but how would this be his own money?
Well, maybe because this was an NWO sponsored contest, he has to spend NWO money. I don't know.
Yeah. So anyway, there's a tie between two women. Yeah. And Eric Bischoff goes, I got to ask him a question. And he starts whispering a question into both ladies' ears. The two ladies in question are Lori Proctor and Becky Paint. And Becky Paint wins. And Eric Bischoff, Becky Paint looks like a mom. She's a homemaker mom. She is one of the moms. And Eric Bischoff starts making out with Becky Paint twice. She gets his crown. She gets these flowers. She starts walking around the ring. And then she goes back on stage to the throne. She gets to sit on the throne, which is in the shape of a giant NWO toilet. Eric Bischoff says, she's beautiful. beautiful on the inside, beautiful in a way some people don't understand. This is awful. You're basically making fun of somebody's mom and wife, and I'm like, you know what? This is fucking stupid. I hated this whole thing.
Yeah, it was bad. It was if this pay-per-view just took out all of this stuff and had like another match, like I don't know, like just or had like a crazy angle with the wrestlers. Even if you had like even if you like brought in a female wrestler to be the NWO female wrestler to fight Medusa, it would have been a better show. Like they don't have to do much to make to if they just took this out and added anything, it makes the show better significantly. You know, from all this stuff with the women. You know.
Yeah, I agree. It's like this. If you took all those segments out, I would be telling the audience right now, you need to go out of your way to watch this whole pay-per-view. That's what I would be saying, you know. But I can't say that.
Like yeah, like I'm just trying to think out loud. Like you get Reggie Bennett to come in and fight Medusa, and just be like, Kevin Nash hired her to take out Medusa. Like just do something like that. Give him like 8 minutes. It's a better show. Even if the match is awful, even if they botch every move, it's still better than this.
Yeah. So let's go to our 8th match. This is our final match for the WCW World Title. The Giant comes out, and Neil Pruitt tells us he is NWO's biggest failure versus the biggest icon, Hulk Hogan, the champion. Eric Bischoff says Jeff Jarrett, no, not Jeff Jarrett, Jerry Jarrett, Vern Gagne, Vince McMahon Jr., they all owe Hulk Hogan, which he's not really telling lies there. I mean, they all kind of do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hulk Hogan,
Bro, can I tell you? Can I tell you? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Every John Cena segment I see just makes Hulk Hogan's NWO run look better and better and better and better and better and better and better. That match, that main event this weekend was an embarrassment. Was an embarrassment. A main event of Money in the Bank, one of the worst main events they've had in a long time. And his stupid faces when CM Punk, he is. You are making the case that Hogan is the greatest of all time every time you walk out there, John Cena. Like anyone who is critical of anything in this Hogan run needs to apologize because man, he makes it look easy. So, this match sucks, but Hogan's character work is so much better than John Cena's, bro. It's not even close. It's not even close.
I think people, if you're a wrestling fan, people need to do a separation of Hulk Hogan the person and Hulk Hogan the character, because there's a lot of people who don't like Hulk Hogan. They just don't like him as a person. And I think because they don't like him as a person, that skews their review of his performance. Wouldn't you agree? Right? So
yes,
because they don't like him, they'll say he stinks or whatever. I am not like a huge Hulk Hogan fan, but man, the guy no, I don't think there's a single wrestler who understands wrestling more than Hulk Hogan.
Yep.
You know, like he gets it. He totally gets it. Even the way he comes out. Let's just talk about the way his entrance. He comes out with the Dallas Cowboys, Nathan Newton, Ray Donaldson, George Teagle, and he comes out with what's his name, Vincent, who's got a chair. He's a chair escort, and everyone's dressed in black. And Hogan is just like doing his fucking like cocky walkout. Like that entrance alone is just fun, and Hulk Hogan makes it fun, right? Because he knows like he's got to be that heelish thing. In this match, the Giant is just overpowering Hulk Hogan. And even on the floor, Vincent gets overpowered by the Giant. And the Hogan, when he's heel Hogan, he sells really well. Like, you know, he makes the other guys look good. And what he does is Hogan can't overpower the Giant, so he throws powder in the Giant's eyes. Like, remember when he was doing this when he wasn't a heel? It was making no sense in WWF, right?
Yeah.
Well, here it makes sense. He's the bad guy. I totally get it. You know what I'm thinking now? Is like Hogan really likes that throwing powder in the eyes gimmick. Like, I think he just likes it. He's like, brother, I want to do that spot.
it happens to him. I mean, I mean, Yokozuna, Mr. Fuji, he likes the spot. Listen, he's old school, brother. What do you want? That's an old school heel spot.
Yeah, he just. I think as a wrestling fan, I think he really just digs that powder in the eye spot, and he tries to work it into all his matches. Brother,
Mhm.
what if I threw powder in your eyes? But Hogan, you're the good guy. Like, no. I just really want to do it. Like, and anyway, he throws powder in the Giant's eyes, which allows him to take control of this match. Eric Bischoff, he notes that Brian Knobs is in the crowd, and he says the other one got involved in a street fight, and he starts laughing his ass off. Stupid. The Giant
It's
misses
crazy
a
to me that he's like shitting on a former employee. Like nowadays, like Jerry Sines could sue him, you know?
yeah, it's like he does sue him actually. Jerry
Oh,
Sykes
okay.
does sue WCW, but you know what happens? He loses it. He loses the case.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that's why Bischoff felt confident to just shit on him. All right.
Yeah. He actually lost. I forget the details of it, but he actually does sue and then he loses. It's unfortunate. Anyways, going back to this match, Giant misses a huge top rope elbow drop, and then Hulk Hogan crotches the Giant as fans start chanting for the Giant. Um, not crotches, like he puts him in a clutch. Hogan, excuse me, Hogan slams and leg drops the Giant, who no sells it, gets up, and then he choke slams Hulk Hogan. But the referee is Nick Patrick, and he's playing games. He's not going for that 3 count. So the Giant gets mad, and he choke slams Nick Patrick. Buff Bagwells runs in. He gets choke slammed. Eric Bischoff finally has had enough. He gets off commentary. He goes over to Hulk Hogan, and he gives him Hulk Hogan a guitar as Vincent, Michael Wall Street, and Big Bubba Rogers, they all start getting choke slammed by the Giant, one after the next one. Giant, however, then starts getting beaten down with this guitar as he's about to choke slam Six. Then the Outsiders and Hulk Hogan, they start beating up the Giant and they spray paint nWo on his back as fans start chanting, "We want Sting! We want Sting!" You're never going to get Sting. nWo celebrating the ring to end this pay-per-view. Terrible finishing match. I give it a C-minus. What did you think?
Not a good match. Every time Hogan has the Giant, I didn't expect to be good. I have given up on Hogan and Giant never having a good match. They never did. Hogan only went to the Giant because he wanted to relive Andre, and he wanted to have a match where he beat the shit out of Andre rather than the match. Um, but man, those chants for Sting, brother, they had it in the bag. It was their war to win. Talking about WCW. If they had just had Sting beat Hogan clean in the middle of the ring, it was their war to win, brother. And the more I'm watching this stuff, because it's one thing to hear like Meltzer and all these guys talk about it, but it's another thing to watch it. The more you watch it, the more you realize Vince didn't beat them; they beat themselves.
Yeah. It's
all,
they were.
all,
It's like right there.
dude, the chance for Sting, I haven't heard that. I have the passion in that room for Sting. They want Sting so bad. They're dying for Sting, and you've been holding Sting from them for almost 10 years now, right? Almost 10 years. You haven't given Sting the moment, and they want it. And now, if you give it to them, you're going to get all their money for the rest of your life, brother. You just got to give them the moment. And they built it, and they built, and then they don't fucking do it. And it's like, bro, you've been running from the fact. What? What'd you say?
It's insane.
It's insane. They've
It's
been
insane.
running. We said this at Super Bowl. I think Super Bowl one's one of the most important shows that they've ever done. Because we said in that tag match, these are the guys to build WCW around. Sting, Luger, and the Steiners.
Yeah.
And they run from it. And they run from it. And the moment they finally get behind one of them as the top guy, which is Scott Steiner, it's at the very, very end, and it actually works, and then they go out of business. Because they waited so fucking long.
They waited too long. Like, they waited too long. Yeah.
They waited too long. And it's like, dude, they had it. They had it, man. I knew people wanted Sting, but man, that crowd is desperate for Sting. They're desperate for him. And they want him to be the guy. And man, oh man, they fucked it up. Tony Khan wishes he could get a chance like that for Hangman Page. Which by the way, they never will. Hangman Page is a fucking loser. I don't know why the internet thinks this guy has any charisma. He's a fucking vacuum of nonsense. Anyway, that's my thoughts. Yeah, terrible main event. But overall, I liked the show. And I say that it beats the Rumble in January 97. Your thoughts?
Um, I don't know. That's a good question. You know why? Because the Rumble, I did like the Royal Rumble because it was the Stone Cold Steve Austin story, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also the Royal Rumble didn't have this terrible Jeff Katz thing in between
Mm-hmm.
every match, right? However, this NWO pay-per-view did have that one fantastic ladder match. Ultimately, I have decided to give this to the Royal Rumble because it doesn't have that terrible Jeff Katz Miss NWO segment. Why do you like Sold Out better than the Royal Rumble?
Because it's different. It's interesting. And I enjoyed the matches. And you're right, that ladder match blows away everything at the Rumble. So just based on that, I will give it over that. I think the women's segments are bad, but it's bro, like they just don't change their formats anymore. I'm talking about AEW and WWF, and I'm dying for them to just do something different. It's almost like they're terrified. And yeah, you're right. Bischoff's an idiot. They didn't do it the right way. But I don't know. I like the fact that they tried. And I gotta say, man, that ladder match where that's a classic. And nothing in the Rumble is a classic. It's the Rumble is just a boring show. At least this show, you're like, what the fuck am I seeing? And then you see a great match. You
Yeah.
know?
But I like the. But once again, there's not that terrible Jeff Katz segment.
But I'm saying that like that gives it the advantage because at least it's like shockingly bad as opposed to you're bored for 3 hours and then you just move on with your life. At least you're like, what the fuck am I watching? This is horrible. You know? I'd rather something be like embarrassingly bad than just boring. What?
I'm trying to think. If you guys, okay, I will say this: if you want to watch something really, really embarrassing, that would be it.
Yeah. But we also have great action. We don't have we have one match of great action, and it's the Rumble. But even that's like not as good as it. I don't know. I give it to WC. You give it to WWF?
Yeah, I give it to WWF. But this is the first time we're not agreeing on who had the better one. This is interesting. Interesting 1997. Yeah.
I mean, I would have went before I watched this show. I probably would have agreed with you because I used to when I was younger. I liked the Rumble '97, but this time I just couldn't get into it, and I don't know who's I don't know who's, but all right, we disagree. So we'll give each of them a half a point. That's what we'll do if we disagree. So WWF has 2.5 points, and WCW has hold on one second. June, July, August, September, October, December. 6.5 points. There we go.
Yeah.
So
6.5.
6.5 beats fucking WWF's 2.5. So all right, that's the show. Let's review what we were talking about the next 4 weeks. Next week, we got In Your House, the Final Four. It's Steve Austin versus Vader versus Undertaker versus Bret Hart. In 2 weeks, Super Bowl 7. It's the rematch, brother. It's Roddy Piper versus Hulk Hogan. In 3 weeks, it's Uncensored 97. And in that show, we have Weird Survivors. I don't know exactly how this works. Team nWo versus Team WCW versus Team Piper. Okay, so it's like a Survivor Series. I don't
know how that's gonna work either.
It worked somehow and then in 4 weeks it's WrestleMania 13 main event Sid versus Undertaker, but more importantly, my favorite match of all time, Bret Hart versus Steve Austin. I quit. Ken Shamrock is the referee. What are you looking forward to?
I am looking forward to maybe Uncensored, because now that you mentioned that 3-way, that's kind of a weird concept. That's a weird concept. What about you? You are looking forward to WrestleMania?
Yeah, man, that match is that's the match that turns it all around. That's the match that starts the turnaround for WWF.
Yeah, but
from a storyline.
So I don't think I've watched that entire. I don't think I've watched that entire WrestleMania. Is it just one good match or the rest of them? I don't want to even.
The
I
rest
don't
of
even want to look up the card right now.
the rest of them are decent. So what happened was I got WCW NWO World Tour on the N64 for Christmas. Had to watch wrestling. The game was incredible, and I kind of like looked it back into wrestling. The Tyson Austin thing happened, and I saw that, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I went to the video store, and I'm like, maybe I'll rent a wrestling pay per view and see what's been going on. And they had the previous year's WrestleMania, and I said, all right, WrestleMania is always a good gauge. Because remember, I hadn't really watched wrestling since 1993. So this January 98, I rented that Mania, and the show is okay. At first, it was like sad. When the show started, I was like, this is very, very sad. Like the first couple matches, I'm like, how is this WrestleMania? And then the Bret Hart match kicks in, and the rest of the show is great.
Okay, all right.
And that's what got, and watching that show from start to finish, I became a wrestling fan again, and I've never stopped watching. And I'm doing this thing with you.
Okay. So you know what? Yeah, maybe WrestleMania, because WrestleMania hopefully will be a good one. So all right, so WrestleMania, and I kind of still want to watch that weird three-way and three different teams.
Oh yeah,
Survivor.
I still want to.
Yeah, that just sounds like I feel like it's gonna be a clusterfuck, but I'm curious now. All right.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
Watch that ladder, guys. Six versus Eddie Guerrero. 100%.
Interesting times ahead. All right, guys, that's the podcast. If you like us, subscribe. Follow us on Instagram, Gootz Wrestling Pod, and give us a follow. Leave some comments. What do you think? You like Royal Rumble or Sold Out? We'll leave it up to you guys, and we'll see you next week for the Final Four, Daddy. We'll see you then.
Bye.